Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of Fishin' Outrageous Radio. I'm James Hill, sitting here again with Scott McGill, and we got on the line a couple Imperium baits guys, Graham Johnston and Jeremy Baird. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing all right, man. Thank you.
How's the weather down in southern Ontario?
Well, there's a lot of snow. We've got like 4 or 5 feet of snow on the ground here in the Collingwood area. So it's definitely been an interesting week here. Yeah, and I've pretty much given up shoveling my driveway because it just won't stop. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
It was actually kind of nice to hear that you guys had some minus 30 temps. I thought I was the only Southern Ontario boy freezing up here in Thunder Bay.
So obviously we got you guys here. We need to talk a little bit about Imperium baits. Let us know where the idea for this soft bait company came from, and let's go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I come across about 3-4 years ago, working in the fishing industry, doing some trade shows in the U.S. Started looking at some different ideas and things that maybe some markets, maybe some stuff we could get into that was a little different and maybe marketed and promoted a little different than what other guys are doing. Kind of put it on the back burner for a couple of years, and then this past year we just started working on it and putting it together, launched the company in May of 2013, and started with a good social media push with a good, strong pro staff team that we put together, and went from there. The idea was to go with soft plastics. We weren't trying to reinvent the wheel, but we were trying to come up with something that guys wanted, and come up with a good color mix and stuff that was a little different than what other people were doing.
I see you got some really nice mustard colors, some nice watermelon green pumpkin with some purple fleck. What's some of the stories behind the Minotauro craws, and like where?
Yeah. So the concept behind it, like I've got a few different influences, and Steve Robotham as well was a big factor in picking some of the colors and stuff like that. We kind of have similar backgrounds and stuff we're into. I mean, I came from the fishing industry, but also background in ski, snowboard industry, skateboarding, stuff like that. Also big MMA fans. So we kind of took a mix of stuff, and that's where you'll see some of the names. So each name of the bait actually has a meaning behind it. If you look at like impact stick, so we're trying to, that was one of the things we went to, came along that line from the MMA world. You look at the Minotauro came from a reference to a fighter, and we tried to come up with a little concept behind each one, and then you look at a site and you can read, and there's some descriptions that go with each bait, and just like the Prodigy tube, the Phenom tube, each one's kind of got an MMA reference in there where it came from. Same with some of the colors. We tried to come up with, be a little different on some of the colors than what other guys are doing. The one color on the impact stick would be mustard. So that's the real name was the first round knockout, and that was Steve's signature color that he wanted. So that's kind of the background of where the names came from. Trying to be a little different, have a little bit of a story behind everything, and it wasn't just here's our tube or here's our stick bait. Each had a bit of a concept behind it for the promotion of it.
Right.
I know one of the things I was really excited about was the Phenom tube, and I remember you first telling me about it when we first started talking, and you said it was this oversized triple dip tube, and it was interesting at first, and you sent me up some, and as soon as I looked at them, like we've discussed before, it started to remind me of all the gobies down in the Great Lakes. And I mean, I've spent a lot of time on Lake Ontario and Lake Simcoe, but as some of you know, I spent this past summer out in BC. So maybe Jeremy, did you get a chance to use those tubes on some bigger water?
I did actually. Lake Simcoe is right around my back door, really, and it produces really, really well. I mean, Simcoe's one of our world-class fisheries, and dragging tubes and throwing tubes at the back of the boat. The Phenom is really stood out. I know a few of the other guys have done really well. Mark Hordick's done really well in Erie and places like that. So it's really been a producer for me anyway, and almost pretty much a go-to standard on these bodies of water that we have here.
And also, the other thing I was thinking too, it's a triple dipped tube, and as well as I do, not only just as far as dragging a tube goes, but also this big water smallmouth, they can absolutely destroy baits. I know our thumbs are usually destroyed at the end of a good day. So did you how did you feel about the durability of them?
Well, from my standpoint, they held up really well. Simcoe's fish, you can go out there and catch a day of 5.5, 6 pounders, and you're catching 4, 5, 6 of these a day. These baits have held up really well. I'm still using, not to say this, Graham, but I'm still using the first pack because they do hold up that well. But it's a great color, but they produce, man. They work really well.
Yeah, and I was excited about that tube when I had a chance to get into using and to making one like that, because I used to use another tube from another company years ago, and that was the only place we'd seen it. And a lot of guys like a big flipping tube, but this isn't a flipping tube. You could flip it, but it's just an oversized 4-inch tube. It's not a big long flipping tube like some people are used to seeing. So this tube's really versatile in what it can be used for. It's great for dragging. You could flip it. You could fish it on a jig head. I fished it on quarter ounce tube heads this summer and dragged it or hopped it, whatever, different techniques. So it's a really versatile bait, and that's why I really was excited about it when we come out with this.
Yeah, and definitely, we've most of us have seen the size of the gobies now coming out of whether it's Simcoe or Great Lakes, and not even just that, but bass in general. I think sometimes people sort of undermine what they're really willing to eat. How many monster smallies end up, coming up and crushing musky baits. And I think I was watching Fishin Canada show the other day. The guys were out in the St. Clair River, and they had a big fish spit up a duck. So, they have no problem fitting a bait that size in their mouth, that's for sure.
Well, and you can look at the ace, and, Steve caught numerous fish over the 40-inch size this summer or this spring on the ace, and that's only a 5-inch bait, and they're going after the small baits. The size doesn't really matter in the end. It's just the way the bait works and what the fish is looking to hit.
Yeah, I think it's just about having an open mind when you're out there. it's not like a bass isn't going to hit a giant bait, and it's not like a 40-plus inch pike isn't going to devour something like the ace as well.
A lot of people get stuck on maybe on the size in some of the baits, or confident. A lot of guys are confident in throwing a smaller tube as a go-to tube, and have an open mind. That's the biggest thing, is just trying different stuff and getting confidence in different baits and different techniques, and not always getting hung up on that one size, because obviously these, especially in the fall when the fish are bulking up, they like that a little bigger bait.
Yeah, throwing something a little bit different than everybody else is throwing is key, and I think this bait really has, that attribute. So that's why I like it.
One thing, when you look at NPS, Mark Hardick had a great story on NPS, and I believe it was early December, just before the season ended for them on Erie, and all the photos and stuff in their article they posted, those were all on the Phenom tube. And that was a great fall, or it looked like winter bait at that time, because there was some snow coming down when they were out.
So Graham, so we got the impact stick. It's like a Senko style bait. The Ace, a fluke style bait. Minotauros, you got your Craws, trailer, Phenom Prodigy. What else is coming down the tube for Imperium baits?
So we've added, we're adding, or in the process of adding a grub to the line. So the grub will probably have 5 colors. So that'll come in time for spring. We'll also have some new colors on the impact stick. There's a couple colors right now. They haven't been posted up to the site yet, but there's a couple colors in the mix. That's the biggest thing right now. We're still going to keep things streamlined. We're trying to keep at a basic model, basically 5, maybe 6 colors of each of the different baits. We're trying to make it so that, like, when you're trying to set up a store or just to keep it simple, let's give you the 5 best colors that we offer. We weren't looking to offer a whole pile of colors and get lost in the shuffle. We wanted to give you like a good solid mix of good colors that will work everywhere, or at least in most of the areas that people are fishing. And that was the concept behind everything. When you look down through each of the baits on the site, they're all basically five colors of each one. From there, we're gonna continue to grow. We'd like to add a couple other different baits, other soft baits to the line, but the model was to grow in time and to build the company and go. And I didn't want to just jump in and add a whole pile of stuff to the mix to start. We wanted to get things established and then grow the company. And this started off more as a passion, and then it's growing into be a lot more than when we first started out. So, and the goal was to just take our time and to grow this and do things right.
I wanted to get Jeremy's opinion too. Like I said, being out in BC, it was probably the most bass depraved I've been all of my life. I did manage to get down in the Kootenays and out on a small lake to go largie fishing one day out of the summer. And I went out there with a bunch of Minotauros rigged up, and I had a blast flipping these things along reed lines all day long. Caught a ton of fish, and again, I was really surprised with the durability and even the kick that those legs had to them. So I was just wondering, Jeremy, if you had any thoughts to add to the Minotaur. Did you get a chance to throw it down in Southern Ontario much this summer?
You know what, I did. It's one of those baits. Me talking about Lake Simcoe and everything, but I'm a big flipper, and I've used a lot of different baits over the years. And Graham approached me with this one, and I immediately jumped on the black and blue and started pitching it into the spots that I normally go to. And to be honest with you, I was completely blown away. Smashing largemouth left and right. I mean, it's my go-to bait. I'm not saying that because I'm plugging them. It actually is. It works. The legs are wonderful. And, heavier light, doesn't matter if you're flipping into the heaviest, thickest of stuff. You guys had Randall Thorpe on the show the other day. I'm sure he would love to get this in his hands down there in Florida on Okeechobee with the black and blue. But it's a durable bait that doesn't really look like anything else on the market. It's neat.
Yeah.
And
sorry,
when we had the cross, when we had the idea for that, when we used to get that cross, it was different. And I'm not a craw guy, and and not everybody is. And some of the guys that we fished with that got trying it quickly turned on to using it because it was a great cross, especially on cooch. We used it on cooch a fair bit when we were testing it out, and just pegging it with a weight or letting. Just putting a tungsten on there and leaving it slide, and just dropping it into the weed flats and just pitching it out there, and all of a sudden it was like instant results, and it really helped out. I know it helped Steve out a lot. I know he had a couple of largies over 6 pounds that he'd caught, and some of those are pictures that are posted on the site and on Facebook and that. So, I mean,
yeah, I got my personal best this year on a black and blue Minotauro, so I'm sold. Like I said, it's a quality bait.
That's awesome. And I mean, it's, I had always used fluke style baits, but after getting my hands on a bunch of the Ace, it was probably one of the most versatile baits I could have used while I was out west. And it was amazing because I'd go out, a lot of time with fly fishermen, and I'd be chucking this bass gear. But whether it's lake trout, whether it's bull trout, whether anything that eats bait fish, I'd throw them on their own. I'd rig them up on spinner baits. They make a great chatterbait trailer. I think Brian Thrift at the Forest Wood Cup, he was throwing a fluke on the back of a chatterbait, and I think it's important to have baits like that in your line that, like I said, they can be used for so many different applications.
Yeah, I like throwing them on a spinnerbait. I like to throw them. We fish a lot in Muskoka in the spring once the season's open, and I like them on an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce jig head, and I'll fish them in some of the fallen trees around shorelines, rock piles, stuff like that. And the pike we do really well with the pike like that, and the walleye too.
Yeah, I did really well with them actually this year. We did. I'm part of the Barrie Bassmasters here in Barrie, and we had a club tournament up in Muskoka, and I for 3 fish I had. If only I got my limit that day. I actually had the heaviest weight based on the 3 fish with throwing the white pearl fluke, and they were annihilating it. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome. I think you had a pretty good finish at one of the OBNs. Was it down on Quinny, Jeremy?
Yeah, it was. Actually, the finish wasn't all that great. I was 2 ounces shy of making Team Ontario. It was a close race on Quinny, but day one, I was leading for almost I'd say about 2 hours on stage. I was leading until Des Barnes came and bumped me off by about 5 ounces on day one. And honestly, I got to contribute that to the impact stick. Graham hooked me up with, it was a color that we were trying at the time, and the black, and it dominated that day. So I got to sit up there on that podium for 2 hours in that hot sun. But it really produced well for me that day, and it almost got me to the to what I consider the show here for Ontario anyway.
That's awesome. And I mean, like, it's one thing for us guys that are pro staffs on Imperium to sit here and plug the bait, but I mean, if you're to go on the site, you can see all the giant fish they caught this summer. It's pretty unreal. And I mean, every species, whether it's walleye, pike, I think there was even a big muskie caught on one of the flukes at one point. So I mean, yeah, the proof is there.
Yeah, and we took our time when, like I said, we started this about 3+ years ago, just kind of doing some research, and when we had the original ideas. So it wasn't something we just jumped into and come out with these. There was a lot of time put into it and picking the right mix.
So for the people listening, what does someone need to do to get their hands on these baits?
So right now, they're available in a handful of stores listed on the site at imperiumbaits.com. The website itself actually has a built-in store on it as well. All my contact info is there, the email addresses. You can contact me, sales@imperiumbait.com, and you can send me some questions, or you can get a hold of us that way for orders. Shipping is always a concern, so I mean, if that's a bit of an issue, always great just to give us an email and say, hey, what kind of rates and stuff like that. Usually pretty quick to get everything out to everybody and keep things stocked up. So the other thing we're adding to the mix too is looking at adding some bulk. We've got 12 packs and 24 packs, and on the impact sticks, we're probably going to move to anybody looking for bulk quantities and stuff like that too. We'll have we're always open to inquiries about that, and we're building the clothing line there. We got some pretty neat ideas and some logos and stuff like that we're working on. So watch for the clothing being added as we move into the season too.
I hate to cut you off already, but we're pretty much out of time already. So I can't thank you, Graham and Jeremy, enough for taking the time out. I know everyone's busy this time of year. It's winter and shoveling and maybe some ice skating or even
some of us actually go ice fishing, James.
Or even stoking the fire like I do, because I don't like the cold. So yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to do this on behalf of me and Scott and Fishin' Outrageous Radio.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
No, glad we could be a part of it.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate your time as well. It's great to be a part of something that's hot right now, and looking forward to hearing more of your guys' stuff.
All right, guys, thanks. Well, there we go, everybody. That was episode 2 of season 2 of Fishin' Outrageous Radio, and for some reason I just gave the microphone the peace sign as I said that. Don't forget to go to imperiumbaits.com. You can check out the entire lineup that they have to offer and just see a lot of cool things they're doing differently. You know where you can find me. I'm on Twitter @jhillfishing. You can check out my website, jameshillfishing.com. You can find me on National Pro Staff along with Scott McGill and Jeremy Baird. Heading down to Arizona in 2 weeks, doing the FLW Rayovac on Lake Havasu. So you won't be hearing from us anytime really soon, but on the next episode I'll definitely have a full report. Until next time, keep fishing outrageous, everybody.